a trip, an assignment back here, and I was only back for a couple of years, and we closed it. We closed the office, and I retired. They said, we can get you in down at Sunnyvale, a Westinghouse plant down there, and or you can come back to the East Coast, or you can retire. So I said, well,
How
I'll
old were
retire.
you?
Pardon me?
How old were you when you retired?
I was 62.
Oh, wow.
I had spent about 33, 34 years with Westinghouse. It was kind of funny when I was going to school, when we were seniors in college, I asked one of the instructors if, how many times typically will we change jobs? And this was engineers. And they said, well, 2 to 5 times would be typical. And if you get much over that, people start wondering, about you, but 2 to 5 times. So when I joined Westinghouse, they were telling me about retirement plans and stuff. I could care less about that. But we ended up
Wow,
34 years.
that's wonderful.
This is the album my daughter Meg made up for my 75th birthday, which was last month.
How old
this
were you?
month, it was July.
How old were you there? It says
This picture, I was about 5, I guess, or 4, something like that.
okay. You want to go to the next page?
Sure. And here's my. Well,
this is
is
not
going to be.
working.
This is me and my grandmother, who was. She had 10 children. My mother was the youngest, so she was quite old when my mother was having kids. And then down below is my 2 sisters, Donna and Shirley, and myself. And both Donna and Shirley are both dead.
Okay.
Here's the first 4 children. My dad is holding my brother Jimmy. And so Jim was about a few months old. They're maybe 6 months old. So I must have been about 2. And Shirley, here with the dark hair, was 2 years older than me. And Donna was a year and a half older than her. So that's the 4 kids. And here's my mother after she moved down to that country town with all us kids. And the other 2 are just skimmed by. And let's turn the page. Oh, this is some army photos. This is when I was in the army and home on leave, and just pictures of me with them with some of my buddies. This is when I was in Officers Candidate School, and we are in a couple months having a reunion with the graduates of that group over 50 years ago here in San Francisco. So, and I'm hosting that, so they'll all be here, or many of them will be here. And here I am in Korea, just a picture showing the terrain. And here I am at a friend's wedding. This is here I am in the back here. This is my brother Jim, and this is John Doyle, Marty O'Malley. You can tell by the names. This is Tommy Riley. This is Jack Riley, and Jack's son is John C. Riley, who the movie star.
Wow.
And so he's and Jack's better looking than his son, but you can see some of the same features.
That's in college.
Here's when we were in college, and this was a
jazz
concert
thing. Saturday
and
afternoon at the
that's
university.
Paula and I. And here and the other picture was we were at a party, and this is see how cute she was.
Very.
So that's just a couple pictures of us. The kids weren't sure we were going to have a 50th anniversary because of the cancer, and so they gave us a 40.
Okay.
And you could see we were all wearing our hair a little longer than we do now.
Let's go to the time when you found out you had cancer.
Yes, it was. I had been going for annual physicals for years, and I had retired by this time, and but interestingly enough, the company was paying for my physicals before I retired, and they, from the time they started having PSA tests, I was getting them, and PSA being the test to identify prostate cancer. But what happened so every year I'd have the PSA test, and it was all in the normal range. In 1999, I went in, and my PSA, where they start being concerned is if it's over 4.7. Mine was about 22. And I asked the doctor, I said, well, what happened here? I said, last year it was all right. And I said, what was it last year? And he said, I don't know. It wasn't put in your chart. So that was a bummer because, had we caught it a year earlier, they might have been able to take out the prostate and, have it caught and it'd be over with. But through a mistake in their office, it never got put on my chart and he never saw it. And so now, by the time they found it, first of all, it was a very aggressive prostate cancer. Some prostate cancer is very slow growing. This was aggressive. And it was already out of my prostate. So we considered the two most common forms of therapy are to take out the prostate or use radiation. In my case, I went to Dr. Mac Roach over here at UCSF, who's a really top-notch radiation oncologist. And he said the probability was between 75 and 90% that it was already out of my prostate, that the disease had already metastasized. So there'd be no sense of taking out the prostate. So we will radiate the whole area and see if that'll do it. And they started putting me on hormones too. And so it was worrisome. You find out you got cancer, and not only do you have cancer, you got a bad cancer, and that it has spread. And but in truth, I often say it saved my life. I went in the first, actually Paula said to me, make sure they take a CT scan. Someone at work had told her that.
No, my cardiologist.
Or your cardiologist had told her. So I mentioned that to the doctor, and he said, yeah, you should have a CT scan. So I went in for a CT scan. Well, the next day, we were taking our granddaughter to New York City for the Thanksgiving Day parade. And we had done this with our kids. And so we're taking our granddaughter, and it was a big deal. We were, Paula's sister and her husband were flying out from the Midwest, and her brother was living in north of Philadelphia, and his family was coming up. We're all going to be in New York for the Thanksgiving Day parade. So anyhow, I went in to get the CT, and the woman, the technician, scanned up and down, and then she did it a couple more times. And I said afterwards, what were you doing? And she said, I went up and down and I saw something unusual. And so I went and took pictures of it. Anyhow, she had already been on the phone to the doctors. Turned out I had a rather large
Aorta.
Not aorta.
Aorta aneurysm.
Aneurysm.
Oh, wow.
I had a large aneurysm in my abdominal aorta, and that's like a big balloon in the main blood channel, and so I remember saying, no, this can't be. I'm taking my granddaughter to New York tomorrow, and so whatever this is going to have to wait. And so I did talk to some doctors, and they said, you got to get it taken care of pretty quickly, but you're probably all right. And but you worry about, is this big balloon going to burst on you? And turns out it's a big deal for men because there's no symptoms. You don't know you have it. So anyhow, we went off to New York, and we had a great time. And I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't tell her about it. But it was very much in my mind because we're walking around with this big balloon. And so then we went down to Buck County, north of Philadelphia, where her brother lived. And we were down there, and I decided I'd tell her there before people started leaving so she'd have the family there with her and stuff like that. And so that's what I did. And but we didn't rush back. We went down to Maryland where we were visiting some friends, and then we were trying to contact the doctor and say, shouldn't we? Well, anyhow, we cut short the trip a little bit and we came back. And so the treatment on the cancer had a hold until I went in and got this aorta fixed. And I was very lucky, again, because I was dealing with UCSF. They had a technique which was a new technique, and it had just been approved like within a month for use on patients. It had been approved on people who were so obese, or there was other things that they couldn't take the normal surgery, so they were allowing them to do it on them. But now it had been approved for other people. So I went in, and these repairs are gruesome. The normal repair, and it's funny because we talked to two friends of Paula's within 2 months after mine, and both of their fathers had ended up in nursing homes recovering from this operation. But with me, they went up through the arteries. It was endovascular repair, and it was wonderful. And it turned out wonderful, and everything's fine.
He was out of the hospital within 4 days,
Yeah,
4
something
days.
like that. So that.
Try and tell me a little bit about this impact on you. Yeah.
Well,
Or how this impacted you and your family.
The impact of finding the cancer, or
The whole.
I don't know. I just figured I was going to die. I was going to, but I was going to die fighting. So I did a lot of research on the internet and talked with whoever we could, but basically, I became convinced that I was dealing with some pretty good people over here at UCSF, and I believe that today. So I've been getting treatments. I'm on a clinical trial now for a new technique. I've been on 2 other ones, and sometimes it hasn't been too good physically. I remember I was on one trial where I was becoming a zombie, and nothing was bothering me. I was floating around. I wasn't doing anything, but it wasn't bothering me. I was kind of like a zombie. And Paula went to the doctors with me, and she told them, and they cut the dosage in half right there on the spot. But basically, I haven't been preoccupied with fear or anything like that. I just figure, well, I'll live as long as I can. I'll keep trying to do these things, but emotionally, I haven't been too afraid of this. I don't know why. I just accepted the fact that maybe I'm not going to live as long as I thought I would.
And so I'd like to go to Paula and kind of check in and see what your reaction was and how you have been dealing with this, because I know you mentioned, this was one of the first things you thought of was, well, what's going to happen to me?
I came home from work, and Ed said he needed to talk to me, and I said, well, I'm busy fixing dinner. He says, no, I need to talk to you right now. So I went and sat down on the ottoman in front of his chair, and he said he had prostate cancer. And I checked, I asked a couple of questions. How do you know? How much? What's the PSA? It finally sunk in, and I walked into the kitchen. I said, well, you're not getting any dinner. and I took out the bottle of wine and the cheese, and we sat at the table and sat on the stools and talked about it and what was going to happen next. The main thing that happened through all of this is he's sort of funny. He's understated. He says it's worrisome. So I would go to my family, my friends, my co-workers, and they'd say, well, how is Ed feeling? I'd say, well, he's just sort of low-key about it. And when he told me about the aneurysm, I jumped out of bed and said, we're going home. We're going to get this taken care of. He said, no, we still have to go up to Maryland and visit friends on the Eastern Shore. We've got to do all this. So we get up there, and the friends there convince him, yes, you should go home and get it taken care of. The riding on subways in Maryland, or in New York City, and he was lugging this huge suitcase up and down the stairs of this old quaint hotel in Bucks County, and to find out all of this after the fact, he's mad. But he seems to sail through these things. It's like he's got a guardian angel, because he would have been dead from the aneurysm. So even though I'd love to sue his personal physician, and I still hold a Sicilian grudge against that doctor, in a way, I guess we're dealing with it. Shortly after he had the aneurysm taken care of, he had the radiation, then the kids banded together, got everyone together, all the family and friends we'd known throughout our working years, and they threw a 40th wedding anniversary surprise party here at the Maritime Museum, which was fantastic. Nice. And shortly after that, we took off for a month of travel to visit friends in